I was doing consulting prior to the whole Shadowfax thing happening, right? I was working with AD Kani for a few years, and there was always this thing that there was probably the age when I was sitting there and observing a lot of things happening outside. I was just feeling like, what is this whole startup ecosystem people keep on talking about? What is happening outside? There was always this buzz that, okay, it might not be a bad idea to just do more research around it. However, I did nothing. I had no clue what all of this was. I come from a family of people who mostly don't even think about opening a business. My father, like I said, was in the army. Almost everybody has been doing government jobs in their lives. So even the thought of doing something like this didn't really arise, but it always fascinated me. Because in general, problems fascinated me. I very particularly remember that there was this, we went for a friend's sister's wedding. Out of all things, that too in Daman. It just ended up being sort of a hostel reunion there. And I was discussing with stuff. Vaibhav was there, Abhishek was there. And flirting with the idea, we want to do something, man. I mean, we're not totally enjoying it. I mean, the work was great. I enjoyed my work. But there was that out of all the places in India, all of us folks, we gathered in Daman for some other random event. It just ended up being a reunion, and there we started discussing that let's do something. We seem to be at the right age, so why not just go for something? And I guess from that point in time, it became one of those things that we should probably solve for something. I guess post that in 2-3 months, I guess Vaibhav and Abhishek had some more conversations around it. They pulled me and Gaurav in as well. And that's how this whole thing started. But I guess I would leave the whole ideation thought of it to Vaibhav, because he would be more aware of how that thing flew.
I was decently new to my corporate job. I mean, prior starting Shadowfax, I had worked for 10 months in a firm, which is it's a US-based hedge fund, so it was small enough to try and learn a lot of things at that point of time. I think. I mean, as Praharsh mentioned, I mean, for my parental background as well, none of my relatives, close relatives or extended relatives wanted me to do a startup. From my perspective, I was pretty fine with the work that I was doing in my corporate life, but I think what went well for Shadowfax was that we felt that this is a good idea, this is a deep enough problem to solve for, and it is a team that we know and we can trust. So these two things actually clicked in. So Abhishek and I, we used to meet every weekend and I mean, discuss solutions, discuss problem statements, discuss the evolution of what we should build, what we should not build, and then in Daman we discussed further with the larger audience. We were still very fuzzy in that, but the two things which stuck to us was that it's a deep problem to solve for. When we were formally discussing and we were formally framing, I still remember it was an instantaneous yes from my side, even though I did not even consult my parents or anybody in my family. So yeah, that was the belief, and I think as a part of the team that gave me that confidence about okay, yes, we can do it. The important part was our journey at IIT Delhi. So we used to work together to win those RCAs, we used to work together to win GCs and so on. And in that journey, we knew that neither of us are those shining spots कि जो एकदम मल्टी टैलेंटेड लोग होते हैं, जो एकदम ही आपको राइजिंग स्टार दिखते हैं कॉलेज में, हम में से कोई भी वो नहीं था. बट वी ऑल वर फाइटर्स. हम फाइट मारते थे, ठीक है, हमें चाहे आता था नहीं आता था, हम फाइट मारेंगे, हम सीखेंगे, और सीख के वी वर एबल टू गेट दैट कॉन्फिडेंस इन आवर जर्नी एट IIT Delhi इज कि यार अगर आप सही से घिसाओगे तो you will trump even the rising stars that are there. So I think that gave us a good confidence कि हाँ यार, this is a team that I can trust to solve this problem statement.
Hi folks, on this episode of the IIT Delhi podcast,
we have Mr. Praharsh Chandra and Mr. Vaibhav Khandelwal, both alumni from IIT Delhi, now who have co-founded Shadowfax. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And thank you for hosting us in your office.
No problem at all.
We would have loved if this conversation was happening in IIT Delhi.
We too would have loved had it been in IIT Delhi. It's been a while since we've been to the to the campus, but yeah, lovely having you here.
And so do you frequently visit Delhi, or how does it be? Like, so you have family back there?
No, so my family, and I guess I'll go first. My family is basically based here. My dad was in the army, so once he retired, I ensured that he stays put here. So they're here, but I keep going to Delhi because that's the nature of the business. We're a B2B company, so we work with a lot of clients, and fair to say that 50% of them sit out of Delhi. So the Delhi-Bangalore flight has me on it at least twice a month.
Twice a month?
Yeah, at least twice a month.
How about you?
I'm rare to Delhi. Earlier when we started, we were in Delhi only.
Yeah.
So when we had started, we were operating out of a small office cum shop in Malviya Nagar only. So IIT was pretty close, and at that point of time, we were very frequent to IIT. Even stayed there with some of our juniors at the hostels as well. But yeah, after moving to Bangalore, it's decently rare for me to visit Delhi.
Rare?
Yeah, it's rare.
And is it nothing that you miss about Delhi, or like Bangalore is a good city to be in?
See, the very nature of my role makes me stay here. So that's the primary thing. Definitely 4 golden years in Delhi, so a lot to miss, but yeah, I think Bangalore airport makes you feel that you should not leave the city.
It shows for that.
Though he does travel to Jaipur because he's from there,
Yeah.
so it's close enough.
It's almost like Delhi and so Bangalore and Bangalore airport, Delhi and Jaipur.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Similar time.
but Delhi for sure has very fond memories for all of us. So I absolutely love the food there. That's one thing I guess I miss more than anything. But yeah, luckily I am still able to get a gist of it every now and then. We've got a decent office space over there as well, so it works out well.
Right. So how was it back when you were in college?
How was the
food?
The food. The food in Delhi has always been great. I'm not counting the IIT Delhi food within it, but in general, it's best to say that Delhi has the best food. Period. I don't think anybody can even claim to be close enough. But yeah, I guess Bangalore has good weather, and I think that's the only thing people talk about. Delhi has a lot going for it, but yeah, over a period of time, we started off in Delhi. We then shifted our office to Mumbai, but we had to come here because this is sort of the tech hub. It just had to be this. We for some time flirted with the idea of keeping our office maybe in Delhi and Bangalore, with the operations unit kind of sitting out of there and us and the tech folks sitting out of Bangalore, but we decided the whole management has to be together. At the end of the day, after 6 months, we all came to Bangalore, and I guess tech was the large core of the reason. Luckily, once we came here, a lot of our most recent clients, a lot of startups, have also started coming up here more than otherwise, because earlier you had Snapdeals, Paytms launching out of Delhi, which changed dramatically. So luckily for us, we expected that our businesses would still be based out of Delhi more often than not, but now I would say that 60-70% of the people we work with, they're also here, so it worked out well in the end.
Great, that's great. And I think that has also been like last 8 years you've been with Shadowfax, right? Like when you actually nurtured the idea and went about it. So just prior to that, you were both working in corporate job, right? And that was probably right out of IIT. So why the thought of actually starting up, like in an initial stage in a very short span of time, corporate experience? What prompted you? You want to start?
Sure. See, I was doing consulting prior to the whole Shadowfax thing happening, right? I was working with AD Kani for a few years, and there was always this thing that there was probably the age when I was sitting there and observing a lot of things happening outside. I was just feeling like, what is this whole startup ecosystem people keep on talking about? What is happening outside? There was always this buzz that, okay, it might not be a bad idea to just do more research around it. However, I did nothing. I had no clue what all of this was. I come from a family of or people who mostly don't even think about opening a business. My father, like I said, was in the army. Almost everybody has been doing government jobs in their lives. So even the thought of doing something like this didn't really arise, but it always fascinated me. Because in general, problems fascinated me. I very particularly remember that there was this, we went for a friend's sister's wedding, out of all things, that too in Daman. It just ended up being sort of a hostel reunion there. And I was discussing with staff, Vaibhav was there, Abhishek was there, and flirting with the idea, we want to do something, man. I mean, we're not totally enjoying it. I mean, the work was great. I enjoyed my work. But there was that out of all the places in India, all of us folks, we gathered in Daman for some other random event. It just ended up being a reunion, and there we started discussing that let's do something. We seem to be at the right age. So why not just go for something? And I guess from that point in time, it became one of those things that we should probably solve for something. I guess post that in 2-3 months, I guess Vaibhav and Abhishek had some more conversations around it. They pulled me and Gaurav in as well. And that's how this whole thing started. But I guess I would leave the whole ideation thought of it to Vaibhav, because he would be more aware of how that thing flew. But Abhishek was in between working for a few night delivery companies. At that point in time, this whole concept of hyperlocal wasn't really there. It was really coming up exactly around 2014 and 15. 15 was like the boom year when this thing completely exploded. And a lot of us were involved in one way or the other. Abhishek, in fact, like I said, was working for a night delivery company for a while, and we just had this thought that there probably similar to how there are payments gateways, right, where you can just quickly access any form of a payment and you just get it in a whiff. We felt like there should be something similar for logistics as well, because as India was evolving, we felt like logistics also needed something to happen within it, right? There were a plethora of services we felt like India did not have. You had just Blue Dart or a DDC to go back to when you wanted to move something. But what about if you wanted something in an hour? What about you wanted something exactly at this slot? What about if you wanted some customized services when people are picking up products and taking products? And this whole online commerce thing was booming, and we felt like, okay, online commerce needed payment gateways that are there, but where's the logistics gateway that's needed to enable all of this? So that sort of prompted a lot of the thought process around this. We, of course, were not very, very firm exactly on what would be the right solution. We were flirting with the idea of doing B2C. Then we felt like, no, B2B might be the better idea. We are all more operational. I think that goes back to our IIT Delhi days as well. We were like very hardcore, very hustling sort of folks. So we felt like we can't just create a tech company as well. We wanted to have actual manpower on ground. So a lot of these small things came up, and it led to this happening. But yes, I'll probably let Vaibhav also add a little bit more detail into this. Yeah.
So see, I was decently new to my corporate job. I mean, prior starting Shadowfax, I had worked for 10 months in a firm which is it's a US-based hedge fund, so it was small enough to try and learn a lot of things at that point of time. I think, I mean, as Praharsh mentioned, I mean, for my parental background as well, none of my relatives, close relatives or extended relatives wanted me to do a startup. From my perspective, I was pretty fine with the work that I was doing in my corporate life, but I think what went well for Shadowfax was that we felt that this is a good idea, this is a deep enough problem to solve for, and it is a team that we know and we can trust. So these two things actually clicked in. So Abhishek and I, we used to meet every weekend and I mean, discuss solutions, discuss problem statements, discuss the evolution of what we should build, what we should not build. And then in Daman, we discussed further with the larger audience. We were still very fuzzy in that, but the two things which stuck to us was that it's a deep problem to solve for. It's not something that, it's not a problem that excites you just now and only there are limited problem statements to solve for. The number of problem statements that are there in this setup is tremendous, and logistics in India hadn't seen a transformational shift for quite some time. So just to take an example, and we used to discuss at that point of time as well, I mean, at that point of time, you had your Uber and Ola, which were giving you the live tracking of your cars, etc. But even for your food, if you ordered from Domino's, Domino's is now able to give your real-time tracking just 3-4 years prior only. And similarly, whatever food you were ordering, you had zero visibility about it. And it used to run on phone calls, it used to run on chotus delivering it, and the entire delivery partner ecosystem was also very unorganized in that manner. ठीक है, उनको कब पैसे मिलेंगे, कब नहीं मिलेंगे, क्या रेट पे काम कर रहे हैं, बाइक किसकी है, and so on and so forth. It was very unorganized in that sense. So the problem statement was intense, it was deep. So we felt कि यार it's a मतलब इस पे अगर हम हमारी ज़िंदगी लगाएं तो मतलब it will give us good positive energy to solve more things. I mean, as Praharsh mentioned, I mean almost each one of us we like solving problems. Okay, we like I mean being faced with problems which people haven't cracked, and we like solving them. So that excited one. And second is the team. So we all knew each other, and I mean when we were formally discussing and we were formally framing, I still remember it was an instantaneous yes from my side, even though I did not even consult my parents or anybody in my family. So so yeah, that was the belief, and I think as a part of the team that gave me that confidence about कि yes, we can do it. The important part was our journey at IIT Delhi. So we used to work together to win those RCAs, we used to work together to win GCs and so on. And in that journey, we knew that neither of us are those shining spots कि जो एकदम मल्टी टैलेंटेड लोग होते हैं, जो एकदम ही आपको राइजिंग स्टार दिखते हैं कॉलेज में, हम में से कोई भी वो नहीं था. बट वी ऑल वर फाइटर्स. हम फाइट मारते थे, ठीक है, हमें चाहे आता था नहीं आता था, हम फाइट मारेंगे, हम सीखेंगे, और सीख के वी वर एबल टू गेट दैट कॉन्फिडेंस इन आवर जर्नी एट IIT Delhi इज कि यार अगर आप सही से घिसाओगे तो you will trump even the rising stars that are there. So I think that gave us a good confidence कि हाँ यार, this is a team that I can trust to solve this problem statement.
And these two things actually made us take that. So if I may say so, this was a exercise in trickling down of trust, right? So because you're solving on the ground, which requires some trust building. And you were forming a team in terms of where trust was a binding factor. So what is it that IIT gives you? Like obviously the environment that you spoke about, but what are those instances probably you see that this was the point where I feel I trusted this guy, or this was the environment which induced that trust. So what is it about IIT that?
I guess in a lot of ways, IIT is the first actual external environment that most folks are. I'm not kind of including your IIT prep and all that's there, because that's for a very, very particular focus. It's actually the first environment where you actually get a more holistic feel of what's happening. You know, when I entered the campus for the first time, my impression was that I'll be with a bunch of very studious folks. I'll be non-stop and I'll be worried about my own capability, because I was studying with a lot of folks earlier, but of course now you're working with literally the 1% of India that's there. Good or bad, I didn't know about that. And there was this whole pressure which was there from a academics perspective. But the surprising thing about IIT, what I realized over a period of time, was that it actually develops you more holistically than anything else. Of course, there's the acads part of it. But the whole fact that you actually stay in hostels, you've got a competing environment outside, you learn a lot of stuff, you have multi-talented folks apart from their academic work as well. There is an environment where you can participate in competitions, participate in events, and build yourself individually and more holistically. I mean, even in acads, I guess the whole concept of actually having a lot of courses which had got nothing to do with actual engineering branch that you had selected, all of that sort of added a whole holistic spirit to it, right? And now what all did you have? You had sports, you had extracurrics, you of course had academics, you also had elections over there. Yeah. So it was like your whole general life rolled into one, and you're fighting for all of that stuff. And I would not say there was any one instant which would have told me about one specific learning which I felt helped me, but the first one which really did have an impact was that the first thing which everyone is made to do over there, if you're a little bit more outward, and that is street play. I guess all of us first got to know each other because we were all participating in our campus street play that was there. Not the campus one, the hostel one that you participate in. And the seniors make you prepare all night. You have to literally, the training starts at 11. You have to do exercises. Who had to do exercises? After doing that, the thing we used to look forward to, all of us, after we've been killed, we've been made to do a lot of shouting. At 7 a.m. when the mess would open and we would get a butter and a bread, that was the bliss moment that would be there, right? And when you're seeing all of these phases together, you kind of bond in a sort of different manner because you've seen each other in the worst of scenarios in that sense, which is fun because you're kind of enjoying that whole challenge that's there, right? And that's an environment you can't get otherwise, right? It's very difficult for that to happen, and the fact that you can do it with a lot of folks who can also stimulate you intellectually, because they'll keep on talking about problem statements which are even in things as simple as designing a play, they would make it as complicated as possible and it would suddenly be like, oh man, this is a problem we're solving. I remember us actually researching what happens when you take a mobile phone to a petrol pump, because we were doing a street play which is related to that topic, and we were all on all of those books that were available on this particular topic. We were all on internet, we were trying to find what is this, what has happened when this happens, and we were actually doing that sort of a research. And the interesting thing was a lot of people had a lot of tidbit information, knowledge, which just felt like it was very interesting to know, and all of those backgrounds coming together, it's very rare. And I guess it's one thing that helped, like I said, it helps you develop holistically. The fact that, and here, the fact that we could actually work with a lot of those friends and colleagues was probably the biggest driving factor why we did this.
So I'll add one interesting thing which maybe IIT Delhi does better as compared to other IITs, is that your hostel remains the same for all 4 years. 4/5 years.
For you folks is?
Yes. So I am a 2014 graduate. He is 2013. Yeah. Abhishek and Gaurav, they are 2012 graduates.
Which hostel is this?
Kumaon.
It's Kumaon.
Yeah. So just because you stay with your seniors in the same campus, you tend to learn a lot. You tend to make much better bonds, and your seniors can also percolate a lot of insights or learnings that they have from their end. So one of the reasons why Shadowfax was able to be created was because that the ecosystem that was there in Kumaon or at IIT Delhi, wherein you can bond very easily with your seniors, you can share a lot of information with your seniors. That allowed us, all 4 of us, to get together and bring in Shadowfax. So, I had seen this with, at times I conversate with people from other IITs as well, and this was one of the things that stands out for IIT Delhi. Lot of IITs, they say that they do not have that exposure, they do not have that understanding, just because they are not that comfortable in interacting with their seniors, or they do not get that platform to comfortably interact with their seniors. I think that really helps there. Apart from that, what IIT does, I'll just add one more pointer here. I think IIT gives you space to pursue, there are different ways of looking at things, but what IIT gives you is that you can get out of your comfort zone and you are challenged across multiple facets. That in a way builds your characters, that in a way helps you understand you better, that what you can, what you cannot do, I think that's something that I would add on to this.
So when you were in hostels and you were interacting obviously from different years, so how does the dynamic change now from that time to be co-founders together? What sort of changes do occur?
I mean, nothing has really changed. That's the interesting thing, and we're actually quite surprised by it. It's not just the four of us. Actually, there are a lot of more folks from our hostel who actually helped us in creating this. They're still with us, right? At least 10 of us are here from those days, part of the original team. You can call it the original, the founding team, or whatever that is. And I would honestly say that nothing really has changed, except for the fact that we've become even stronger friends than what we probably were back then. And like Vaibhav said, right, we come from slightly different batches. So sometimes there were some folks who you would otherwise perceive to be senior to you, junior to you. Here, everything that is balanced out because now we're all friends. That's probably the only subtle shift that's happened. Otherwise, there's literally nothing that's changed. I can't think of
I think one good thing that worked out in our favor as well, that I mean, see, while founders are one piece, but there were a lot of folks who had joined in from IIT or from Kumaon who knew us. I think what we have been able to do well is that we have been able to ensure that friendliness also exists, but at the same time the professionalism also exists. So, I mean, that is something that we all have been very conscious of. I mean, it could be a very bad day. I mean, we both can, there have been instances where we have also fought. And that happens because, I mean, each one of us are passionate about what we are trying to build, and there can be different thoughts on how do you want to build. But at the end of the day, you know that person much better. So, so while we have been able to take professional calls in terms of what is better for the collective unit at Shadowfax, we also have been able to ensure that our personal lives, our personal relations are maintained, or even they have grown deeper.
So back when you were in hostels, obviously there were obviously traditions, right? And you were supposed to go with the grain. And what sort of, I'm just curious, was there any consequences of going against the grain while you were in hostels? For example, you were speaking about arguments or disagreements, right? And you obviously deal with it in a very professional manner. How was it back then?
I think
or did it used to happen or not used to happen?
I mean, see, even at hostel, I think, and maybe that actually percolated here as well. So at hostel, our journey of winning, for example, the RCA trophy or the GC trophy, each one of us, and in order to win that, different people had their different ideas. Yeah. But we all agreed to the common goal.
Yes.
And the same thing is percolating at Shadowfax as well, that this is the common goal. We want this entity to succeed. It is not that it should succeed basis the suggestion that I am sharing, yes, or is it, or Praharsh or someone else is sharing. Yes. I think that mechanism or that philosophy actually has helped us back at Shadowfax as well. Even during college time or hostel time, those differences used to occur. But at the end of the day, we took a collective call which is better for Kumaon. Yeah. So, yeah, you would.
Yeah, I guess I would say that I think most of us have this habit of being against the grain in a lot of topics where we feel so. So that does lead to quabbles, that does lead to passionate arguments. Yeah. And it's not just now within the group that's come from IIT Delhi, but also with the management team that we have here. There's a diverse set of opinions that we have. And that's what we've encouraged in the team as well, as a basic facet. Because otherwise you can't really bring something new to the table. Absolutely. If you're just following the grain, right? You're just the grain anymore, right? So that has been a consistent theme, and that was there then, that's there now. Of course, I would say that when you join the campus in your first year, you tend to avoid this. Mm-hmm. Like you're more afraid of what everybody would say, but literally from once the first semester is done, you kind of start bringing your opinions into the mix, and that's the way it has been. I would say it's been even more so than even in campus, because like Vaibhav said, once you're running a full-fledged company, you've got to ensure that you actually do the best for what's there for the company, not because just somebody feels that way or somebody because somebody has said it, so everybody now has to follow it. So you just have to do what is right, and that probably has made us more cognizant of these aspects. Otherwise, like I said, we've always been a little bit against the grain.
So what sort of advice do you have for people who find themselves against the grain right now in hostels?
Right.
What sort of direction or what sort of guidelines they should put for themselves so as to maybe do better than what they might have?
This guideline thing I find very interesting. I'll tell you what, I feel like everybody's personal life story is very, very different, right? And the way people react to things is very, very different. So I typically refrain from saying, we did this, so you should do this. Or we did this works for me, so you should do this. What I just say is that people inherently know the things which work for them, the things which don't work for them. Some people don't like going against the grain, and that's not bad, right? It's a comfort zone thing as well. People are introverts, people are extroverts. So I would not say do this or do that. I would say inherently everybody knows what you like, what you don't like. Be true to yourself and follow that. That's the end thing which actually makes you feel satisfied, makes you feel happy, and that's what you need to find. If you know what you like and you're struggling in your mind to get there, then find a solution for that. That you have to solve. Because if there's something that you feel like you're standing on the edge of the grain or that side of the grain, you have to take a call. You have to either jump from the flight or be on the flight. You can't do both at the same time, right? One pair, ek pair idhar, ek pair udhar. That you can't do. But whether you should do this or that I can't get into. That is everybody's individual characteristics that come into play, and it's always different. Hence, when people ask me, "Kya entrepreneur banna chahiye, nahi banna chahiye?" If it's something that gives you a kick, if it's something that you like doing, and if it's something that when you think about, you think like, "Oh, okay, अच्छा रहेगा अगर मैं ऐसा कुछ करूँगा," do it. You should definitely do it then. But if you don't feel that way, then don't pressure yourself to do it just because there are a lot of people who are saying that you should do this. So that's how I would put it, at least. I don't know if everyone.
Completely agree. Exactly similar thoughts. Back in the days, there were a lot of people who also used to ask us, are you doing startup just for the sake of doing a startup? Because it's a cool trend to do a startup. And maybe my response was as simple as that. See, startup is a fancy name for a business. Right, and business is not something which is a new trend. Doing business is not a new trend. If you want to do business, you should feel that you are ready to do a business. There will be a lot of scenarios where you will face hurdles. You may not be able to get time for your family, for your personal life. But it's that inner passion. It's that inner feeling that you have about that entity that will make you go. So just don't do it for the sake that others are doing. Don't be out of the grain just because it's a cool thing to be out of the grain, or whatever people have achieved, they have achieved only by being out of the grain. I do feel that there are a lot of examples, lot of good examples, people who have stuck to the grain, who have not been college dropouts, who have had good CGPAs, did good stints at good companies, and still they would want to find a company, and they have been successful in doing so. So as Praharsh mentioned, I think the best advice would be to just understand what gives you a better kick, or what is that you want to chase, and just go in that direction. Be it traveling, be it money, be it societal status. What gives you that right sense of satisfaction or purpose in your life? Try figuring it out and do that. If in order to do that you have to be out of the grain, so be it.
Yes. So now there's obviously a lot of media attention, obviously, and if I may say so, distraction in the sense of actually getting to know what you want also. Because like people can push you in a certain direction, like it can be cool also, and now AV, YouTube, you all know it, right? So how does one actually stay away from those distractions in that sense कि they are able to find that true calling? आपको क्या लगता है कि वो क्या steps हैं या क्या thought होता है जिसको हम पकड़ के रख सकते हैं कि हाँ this is the my North Star. तो वो क्या हो?
I guess you always have to be exploratory, you always have to be inquisitive. So it's not easy to always immediately say that one fine day you wake up and you say, yeah, this is what I like, I'm going to do this. That doesn't really happen, okay? And I don't think we also reached whatever we liked via that. You have to experiment. Sometimes when you experiment, you find some things earlier. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time. But you have to keep an open mind, keep on exploring. If you're not, for example, you're working in X job, you don't really like it, you have to explore then. Maybe there's something that you're doing that's wrong in the job, maybe there's something that you don't like about that job, maybe you want to do something else. But then you will have to take that jump to make that exploration, right? And the other thing is, me personally, for example, when I was working in consulting, I used to like it. I mean, I would not say that I didn't like it. I had a fabulous time there. I probably would have been doing consulting had this not happened. But I can say that I like this more. And that's also another way of looking at it, right? There's a lot of things that sometimes you like, sometimes you don't like, but you have to find the good in what you're doing as well. So do a bit of both, but never stop being exploratory, inquisitive. I think sooner or later you will find something where you will say, ye sahi lag raha hai. This is what fits. And there will always be noise, even more now so than any other time in the history of noise, right? So, but the important thing is to see, you have to take a step back and look everything objectively. There's something which will always be there in the news. That's what Vaibhav was also saying. Startup suddenly became something which everybody should be doing, right? Startup nahi kar rahe ho, to pata nahi you're doing something bad in your life. That's not really the case. It's just the hype which gets created for some period of time and then it dies down. It's actually it's also hard work. Everything is hard work in life, right? So keep listening to the noise, but explore. And of course, you have to remove excess noise that always comes. So that's part and parcel of it. That's there for everything, even for news, even for media, even for any topic that you can pick. There'll always be a little bit of an extreme which will always be there. Finding balance is something which people have to do independently.
I think it's a very, very fair question. I was interacting with one of my cousin as well. And he also told me कि भैया, you don't understand, these days it is very difficult to be a college graduate or a college person. There are so many angles where people are judging you. There are so many content that is trying to dissuade you in different directions. Your looks and appeal, the way you talk. I mean, it's easy for you to take a stance ki it does not matter how I look, but it's very difficult for us to take that stance right now. So see, I think I mean my thought in that direction. So I recollect. So I used to so at IIT I was Hindi Samiti Sachiv. So I was secretary of the Hindi Samiti. So मुझे कबीर दास जी के थोड़े अच्छे लगते थे और कबीर दास जी का एक दोहा था कि ज्ञानी है तो स्वयं को जान, यही है साहिब से पहचान. तो उनका मतलब दैट इज समथिंग आई वुड सजेस्ट कि ट्राई एक्सप्लोरिंग, ट्राई फिगरिंग आउट व्हाट एक्साइट्स यू. इन दैट जर्नी डू लर्न स्किल्स, डू बिल्ड कैपेबिलिटीज. ठीक है, यू मे लर्न अबाउट योर कॉलिंग एट अ लेटर पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम, बट दैट कॉलिंग विल ओनली कम वंस यू हैव दोज कैपेबिलिटीज विथ यू. तो वो कैपेबिलिटीज़ आप सीखो, समझो, बात करो, पढ़ो. मतलब बुक्स आर a very good way. I mean, those are kind of old fashioned these days, to be honest, but they have a lot of insights. I mean, personally, if you had matlab, there was a point of time where I was reading Bhagavad Gita and Chanakya Niti both. So I was able to get a lot of philosophical understanding about myself by going through those books. So I think that helped me in that direction there. So yeah, my understanding again would link with what Praharsh mentioned. Keep exploring, but at the same time build capabilities, build a better version of yourself. So for example, just would add here, I mean, so at IIT my profile to a very large extent was somebody who would enter into a consulting domain. And if you remember, I used to consult all these guys as well. So I was taking, I was a secretary of a club. I was taking some PORs as well. Had a decent CG, and that was kind of an ideal configuration for somebody who wants to go into consulting. But then I had a internship at Adobe, and at that point of time, I felt कि यार tech is super powerful. मतलब you have so much power to solve problems. ठीक है. Whereas consulting, I felt, and मतलब this is not against a particular profession or another, it's just the calling. ठीक है. Consulting में मुझे ऐसा लगता था कि यार while you are using a lot of your brains, but you have very limited power to execute. Whereas if you are an engineer, if you are a software engineer, you can actually think of an idea and you can deploy that idea and you can see the impact of that idea. At that point of time, I felt कि नहीं यार मेरे को techie बनना है.
I think I was just speaking to one of those employed man who was like on the reception, which said कि tech can solve anything. I think that was so much weird. So why that's the case, and you are actually forefronting and taking this logistics and including tech in that aspect, and in a very Indian context. So so my question is, what prompted you to actually think about not just having a tech sort of thing out there, but also having a on-ground impact, right? So it's a very typical problem that India has, as you had also already mentioned. What is that, which obviously you mentioned your interest in tech, but how do you see it going now with AI and Adobe doing amazing stuff in the such generatives, visuals, and a lot many industry level softwares coming up, industry standards being pushed very far. How do you now see, how do you intend to bridge that gap? How do you even make sure that Shadowfax actually still leads from the fan?
So I'll take. So see, there are a couple of. I mean, see, as a part of our virtues, one of the virtue is innovation, and something that we keep telling within our team as well कि यार आए हैं तो कुछ उखाड़ के जाएंगे. We just don't want to be another logistics company. Our aim is कि यार मतलब पर्सनल लेवल पर अगर मैं टीम्स को बोलता हूँ तो मेरा ये है कि यार इस तरीके की चीज़ें बनाओ कि फ्यूचर में बुक्स लिखी जाएं कि हाँ Shadowfax was the first company to introduce this thing. जैसे फोर्ड ने उस टाइम पे ऑटोमेशन इंट्रोड्यूस किया था, उस तरीके की चीज़ें अपन करें. There are a lot of innovations that are happening on the logistics side of it. The good part is the kind of solutions that we have built, the kind of understanding that we have, they are translatable in that direction there. So if you understand the scope on the drone side of things, now there are a lot of capabilities with respect to routing, lot of capabilities of what shipment to send, how to send, they will all manifest in that direction there. So that is one area in which things are progressing there. From an AI perspective, I think a lot of problem statements that we have, they will become more adaptive in nature to the ground reality that is there. So I'll give an example. So a typical technology problem is to find the optimal route. But when you go to ground, your riders would say that my optimal route is not the one which saves me the kilometer run. My optimal route is the one which ends near my house, so that I do not have to walk idle to get to my house, right? So that is how your algorithms need to adapt. And with the capabilities on the AI side that we are exploring as well, these adaptations are actually becoming more intelligent in that. And because there are different rider personas, there are different ground challenges. Somewhere like Mumbai would have east and west partition. I mean, while your lat long would say that these are, the aerial distance would say that these are very close enough, but if you go on ground, you will understand no delivery partner would want to go from, let's say, Jogeshwari East to Jogeshwari West, just because of the railway bridge that is there. So that adaptiveness would increase. I think blockchain as well also has a good implementation on our side as well. So see, one of the area that where we work and which excites a lot of us as well is that we have created a platform which allows lakhs of delivery partners to come and make money. Okay, this is a platform which does not have any bias for caste or religion or anything. It also is not a full employment thing. You are free to come and work for any number of hours that you want to. So a person who is working in a college can also come on Saturdays and Sundays and work on this platform. Somebody who is working in a 9-to-5 job can also come and on evenings and do this platform. So this gig platform that we have been able to build, so we are excited that we have created those earning opportunities for those people, which would not have existed had this platform not existed. Now another problem that this gig platform has is the credibility issue that exists. People like us, we all have our credit scores, and these credit scores help us with multiple ways of identifying how trustworthy are we. There is nothing that exists for this gig platform. So if we can maybe create a centralized, a decentralized setup on a blockchain wherein different such gig platforms can submit their data, we can actually create a consolidated platform wherein a profile of a gig worker can be created.
Sure.
So these are some of the ideas which we feel can help transform our business with the things being changing out there. But I think on an overall question, I think it will be the values, it will be our stickiness to keep innovating, it will be our virtues of figuring out a better solution, going deeper into a problem statement that will help us win.
So could you give an example of what measures that you take to keep the mismatch between the ground realities and what you intend your platform to be, to keep those minimal? Any example that you would want to say?
First example, and which we all believe that does not beat anything, we ensure that all our leadership visits ground at least multiple times a month. Every new joiner in our team, within the first week, they are expected to go on ground visits, interact with delivery partners, visit our hubs, visit our DCs to understand the ground reality. Nothing beats that, and we do get a lot of insights from that. And maybe that was how in the earlier days as well, when we were building our product, that's how our product got built. So from morning 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. our operations used to run. Then at 11 p.m. I used to get a mail that these are the findings that we found. I used to program that. I used to ship the next build early in the morning, and then the iteration cycle used to run. So I think that is the prima facie first thing. Have those meetups with your consumers. Know your customer is the basic thing. I mean, while there are numbers to assist you, while there are metrics to assist you, but I mean, to be honest, at this scale, at this journey, we still feel that all those set of numbers are insufficient to depict the entirety of the ground complexity. So I would say that if we keep this, if our leadership team, if our decision makers are close to ground, they have their ears to ground, I think we will have a very good chance of succeeding further.
So does this articulation come in retrospect, or is this something you carried from your IIT days or throughout your journals? How does it translate?
So I think I mean it is something. I mean, we as founders, we are those kind of people who like to go into depth of an issue. We rarely would want to solve the symptom. We would like to diagnose it and then go deeper and do a complete RCA and then solve it fully. And we are not afraid of taking a fresh approach as well. I mean, thinking from first principles and trying to solve it out there. So those characteristics existed. Obviously, the part of learning where your leadership should also be motivated to go on ground to understand the nuances. These were, I mean, we learned in the journey.
Yeah. Oh, I think please. Yeah. So I was going to ask you a couple of more questions about your opinions, how to approach things, which you have clearly mentioned that that's not how you feel it works. But at the same time, a lot of folks who are now in campus will be looking at this. A lot of alumni who are aiming to start up, who are aiming to sort of break through different problems they might be facing, or other people are solving for other people outside. What is it what is that one insight or one thought or one sort of a direction perspective that you would want to share with them? Because podcast is also about IIT Delhi, right? So if you could say something to IIT Delhi, what would it be?
It's an interesting one. I guess I can just quickly summarize what I personally follow in a lot of stuff that I do, and it's you keep on working hard, you keep on trying to identify things that you like, you keep on being honest with yourself, you don't worry about what everybody else is saying. Of course, it's easier said than done, but at least you try to become a better version of whatever you were the previous day, and just you keep on moving in that particular direction. That's one part of it. And the other thing is, and it's something to do with the whole philosophical concept of being happy, right? I guess what Vaibhav mentioned was quite relevant in that sense, that you have to find that happiness thing within you as well. It will not always be external. While you'll keep working, you'll keep doing a lot of projects, you'll keep solving problems, and people would be there in tough situations as well. Everybody gets into tough situations as well, right? But you have to keep powering through them. That's one side of it. But yes, you have to find a little bit of, you have to be kind to yourself a little bit more than most of us are most of the time. And that's what one thing I felt is that what people should probably do a little bit more. It's not easy. It's not taught to us. We are never kind to ourselves. We always see what's happening on YouTube. People are doing well. We are not doing well. And we always compare ourselves. There's some project which is not going well. It hurts us. And that'll always happen. But the skill to get up from that, the skill to be kind to yourself, the skill to find happiness in a lot of different scenarios is something that people should also try to imbibe as they go along. And that's something, that's all I would say. And at the end of the day, that's what everyone's trying to do, right? Just being the better version of who they are, just trying to be a little bit more happy. And why I said you have to be the better version is because when you see those, you need not just become the best startup in the world, right? That's not what keeps us here. The fact that tomorrow we are better than what we were today, that's what makes me happy. Now, it might not be that we've conquered Mount Everest and we're suddenly the best, right? It'll be great if that happens, but if it doesn't happen, it's okay. If at the very least, if you kept on prodding along, right? You kept on trying to do something, you kept on trying to move. That's where the difference gets created, and finding happiness in that is important. A lot of people just base their happiness on the end state which is going to come, which might never come. That's the only thing I would say from my end. I guess it's a bit philosophical, but but you ask Dil se, to fir I guess that's one thing I would say Dil se, because people do take undue pressure upon themselves, and especially I guess since it's the alumni network, people are there from the campus as well. Don't take pressure about a lot of stuff. Especially I feel like the latest generation does try to take a little bit less pressure, but it doesn't always work out, right? So that's all I would say. Don't take that much bit of pressure. Find yourself, find your peace, learn those steps to improve yourself, find happiness in that. That's a quick summary of this.
Yeah, I mean, very little to add, to be honest. Completely the entire philosophy is in that direction, that know yourself better, find what is there. In that journey, keep learning. Build those skills, build those capabilities. Just focus on the process. If the process is sorted, I think you will get the destination. There is no one path to a particular destination. Yeah. There could be multiple paths. If you know your destination, nothing better than that. But if you are still exploring your destination, just be focused on the process. मतलब मैं जब आया था IIT में, मेरे को सीनियर्स ने 2-3 ऐसे फंडे दिए थे कि देख, तेरे को अगर पढ़ाई करनी है पढ़ाई कर, एक्स्ट्रा करिकुलर करना है एक्स्ट्रा करिकुलर कर, खेलना है खेल, लेकिन खाली मत बैठे, बस ये मत करे, ठीक है? कि खाली मत बैठे कि जो है तू रूम में बैठा हुआ है अकेले, ठीक है, या कोई गेम खेल के अपना टाइम पास कर रहा है, वो मत करे. बाकी तेरे को अगर पढ़ाई अच्छी लगती है पढ़ाई कर, तेरे को एक्स्ट्रा करिकुलर अच्छी लगती है एक्स्ट्रा करिकुलर कर, जो तेरे को अच्छा लगे वो कर, लेकिन कुछ कर.
So what is the boundary check that you make sure कि हाँ ये process काम कर रहा है? Say how does one get to know about it? Like if I can get one point from both of you.
So it's an interesting one, and it's tough. Sometimes you try to work on something and it doesn't work out, and then you feel like you didn't progress. I guess inherently, and it's again very personal. I have personally felt that in any activity that I'm doing, for example, if I'm learning something, right, you know that you're typically speaking progressing. In the initial stage, definitely, typically speaking, there would be a step jump. Otherwise, though, if you're not moving, you can stop that immediately, right? If nothing is really changing, you will see those that there are step changes that are happening, and as long as that's happening, you can be satisfied. But you will almost always reach a stage where you feel like nothing is really moving, right? You're kind of stuck. That's when a lot of people solve it differently. What I typically, my process is more introverted. If I feel like there is something which is not moving, I sometimes tend to leave it. I feel like, okay, theek hai yaar, matlab, let's try something else. A lot of other people, what I've seen works for them is that they try to get external mentorship, which is to say that, hey, this is something I was doing, it helped me for a while, but now I don't seem that, it doesn't seem like anything is moving. Either I'm not progressing, it might be a work, it might be a promotion, it might be learning the guitar. And at that point in time, I've seen a lot of people take that mentorship aspect. People try to figure out, and that also helps. It's not really a go, no go, ki yaar ye wala check kar doge, to fir you will know that you're on the right track. That typically doesn't happen. In this process, the only check that I typically do take is whether whatever I was doing was genuinely making me feel happy and satisfied. Like, yeah, ठीक है, इतना progress किया अभी, ठीक है, 4 दिन से कुछ हुआ नहीं, but still I was enjoying doing it. मतलब it's okay. Sometimes things don't move, right? If that check is there, rest. If you're stuck, there are a lot of other different ways in which people solve it. I'm more introverted, like I said, so I don't really go for external mentorship and stuff. But for a lot of people, I know for a fact that it does help them speak to somebody that, okay, I'm trying to learn this, I'm trying to get promoted, I'm trying to do XYZ, I'm trying to solve this problem, it's not really moving, or do you have some ideas, what can I do, which is different. Those things you can do, but inherently, of course, directionally, most people tend to know apne aap mein, internally, as to what is working for them, what is not working for them. I guess what takes more time is the acceptance to sometimes just see it. This is not working for me and that is working for me. That I've seen is more often than not the problem. Otherwise, internally, most people do know what's going on. So, yeah.
I think I'll add on to that mentorship part. Maybe mentor not be the right word that I'm looking for, but have a close group where you can share your feelings, where you can share your angst or your deep feelings, and have that trust that that group will give you an honest opinion. I would say that helps a lot, because see, basing your processes correct only on the result is not a good thought process per se. I mean, if you look at Sachin Tendulkar at one point of time when he had tennis elbow, and that was a very down time for him as well, and so I tend to read a lot about him. So I figured out that in that journey as well, it was that close group of people who made him that confidence, or gave him that confidence, or gave him that honest opinion of what is right and what is wrong. And in this opinion, the important thing is also, and I think I very much agree with what Praharsh does in a way, that that at times you might have to move on. So when I was starting up, my flatmate actually gave me a small book. The book is The Dip. It's by Seth Godin. Now it talks about that there are two kinds of dips in life. One is a dip just before a peak, and the other is actual dip. So if the dip is before a peak, you need to slog hard. If you slog hard during that time, you will reach the peak. But if it is a peak which is a flat peak, then it's like running on a treadmill. You will exhaust yourself and you will not reach anywhere. So it's important for you to find that which peak or which dip are you stuck at, and accordingly take a call.
And I think that goes without saying that you would know if that dip is a...
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So that is.
It happens quite a lot in startups as well, right? It's not easy to start up, and a lot of startups have dips. A lot of startups have ups and downs, right? And some dips do lead to, most dips lead to startups closing down. In fact, not some dips. I think 97, 98% of the startups have to close down, right? So But it happens as part and parcel of life, and mostly people do get to realize what's happening there, what kind of a dip that is, as Vaibhav
So at
said.
Shadowfax, we have seen both kinds of dips. So there have been scenarios where we started on a particular business line, and after a duration, we realized कि नहीं यार, this is not working out for us, or this is not the right direction for us, and we halted our work in that direction. At the same time, if you look at 2016 period, so 2015 was a boom period for startups like us. 2016 was no investor was willing to touch a hyperlocal logistics firm. And at that point of time, it was our inner confidence that yes, this business makes sense. This is a problem that is worth solving, and this is a problem which can actually scale and make money. That allowed us to slog in that period. And after that period waned out, I think the recent downturn, the so-called downturn that a lot of startups are facing in the funding crunch, we were even more confident at that point of time because we had seen that phase earlier. We had that confidence in us that these kind of scenarios come and go. You need to understand your business well, and I think we have done pretty well this time as well. So yeah, and this is entirely a self-judgment, self-confidence that
Kids. So IIT obviously carries a lot of weight and momentum of entrepreneurial experience and churning out entrepreneurs out to entrepreneurs, right? And people who are doing amazingly well for themselves and like actually creating value in real term, right? What sort of a vision do you carry or do you see IIT Delhi taking forward? Right? Keeps nurturing that sort of environment and those people and those startups. What can it do better? Like both these guys.
You want to take that?
Sure. So, see, with respect to IIT Delhi doing better for startups, I think point number one would be better collaboration with the industry. So, in India, in the current state, we are seeing, while there are good startups that are coming in, but if you compare it with an ecosystem of that of Stanford and Harvard, you see that a lot of people have started up from their PhD thesis that they had done at Harvard and Stanford. So, and that is possible when you have very strong interactions or understanding of the business problems. So, I think if those interactions, if those collaborations can do better, people can go deeper in solving those problems, build more IP focused solutions in that end. Sure. And I think that would lead the next wave of startups for us in India. While there are some good startups where we are doing well from an actual IP building perspective, but yes, if you look at from a maturity perspective, if you would want to build in companies which are truly differentiated, I think that is where that element would help.
Sure. So, what sort of role do you see the institute playing, as well as because you mentioned Harvard, right, and the sort of alumni networks that they connect with? What sort of role do you even see alumni playing in terms of nurturing that and going forward the way that you propose?
See, from an alumni perspective, multiple ways. As simple as that, having these interactions or having these discussions of giving in life perspective of what is important and what is not important. Those will be of definite help. I think there can be mechanisms wherein companies like Shadowfax can share in some of our deeper projects, some of our long-running projects with the team at IIT Delhi. People can spend time. Either it could be, I am not directioning it towards a hackathon per se, because hackathon is a smaller duration to actually solve that problem. I am looking for a way in which maybe some of our problems can be taken as BTP projects, which can benefit both these parties in a much better way. So that is another angle that I could see. Apart from that, I think the alumni network, I mean, see, I might be wrong here, but I think the funding aspect in India for a decent idea, for a decent background, is a lesser of a challenge right now. I think the elements of building a company or exposure of building a company, because when you are building a company, it's not only about idea. It's not only about that you are a very good executor or very good techie. You have to do n number of things as well, because it's a company at the end of the day. I think that exposure is something that the alumni network can focus more. Yeah, I think because I mean, when we started as well, we were also naive in terms of different HR policies. We were also naive in how do you build the right culture. And we learned it, how do you hire, for example. We learned it as we grew. And if that direction, that guidance can come in from the alumni network, I think that will be of help.
Right. So,
and also you spoke about how you enjoy your career as a consultant and now in entrepreneurship. So what sort of the commonality would you propose that the institute doubles down on, that it nurtures sort of all kinds of talent, not just entrepreneurship?
Actually, in that sense, IIT Delhi is sort of a pivot around which a lot of things flow, right? There are students, there are professors, there are alumni, and within the alumni, there is a variety of stuff which folks are doing. People are leading businesses, people are running startups, people might be doing more of education, and so on and so forth, right? I think that pivot, and I can see that it has been changing over the last 3-4 years, that IIT Delhi's role is being the glue which keeps people coming back. Anything and everything, be it interactions, this thesis work which Vaibhav mentioned, right? Some problem statements being shared. It need not be just from a startup, right? It can also be from any other facet of life. But just having all of those levers listed down, which kind of ensures that that IIT Delhi can act as that pivot, which can then execute all of those levers. Rest of the audience will manage themselves out, is what I feel, and that's what IIT Delhi can do even more of. I think I would be honest. I would say that prior to 2017-18, I guess I don't know the exact time, I would have seen lesser of alumni related work happening. I've seen a large amount of shift over there. So I guess that's one change, and I think it's a change in the positive direction in that sense, right? And that ecosystem needs to be made only stronger as we build from here, right? So coming up with more such ideas which can ensure, I mean, it's one common link, right? IIT Delhi becomes that link between so many facets of life and individuals, that it has to take that leadership role in that sense to ensure that there is something bang on which is happening every other time, right? So that if anybody has a problem to solve for, they can quickly give a call and say that, hey, need some of this to be happening. Hey, there's an idea which has come in. Which of you guys are interested in this? Does it look good? Doesn't look good? So on and so forth. So I think that role, of course, the campus typically speaking plays, and I think that's something which we're also catching up on. I think the US colleges have done a good job there. Somehow keep a very strong bond between every facet of what they do, every facet of the students that they have, and they maintain it for a while. And that's something which is now becoming stronger here as well. So that's a positive, and I think I would just say that there's more of that can continue to be on to be done, right? So that's broadly what it is.
And yeah, I agree with Praharsh on that fact. It need not be only startups. I think there are multiple companies, maybe the listed ones as well, which can benefit a lot if their interactions with the students can be improved. I mean, I remember my BTP professor giving me a problem statement which was in a way related to a company, helping them solve. But since I wasn't interacting with that company directly, I had very less context of why this problem needs to be solved. And at the end of the day, I did not choose that problem statement. So that, I think those interactions, giving that context, giving that practical context, those conversations can help in multiple manner for IIT Delhi.
Absolutely. Well, I'm so glad that you put it that way. And also, I really hope that folks like you, alumni, who sort of even share this philosophy, I hope the institute also works in the same direction, and we all come together to make it a better place for itself and for the country as well. Thank you for taking out this time and spending almost an hour of time, I think. It was an absolutely lovely conversation, and I have to say that with the depth of knowledge that you both carry, you carry a sort of a humility as well. And I absolutely love to speak about any topic that we touched upon in our very neat sense. Thank you again. Any sort of last thoughts you might have?
No. I would just say thank you for having us. This was fun doing. I hope that you guys continue doing more of this. I guess the ecosystem needs it. It's always fun. Like I said, we're all emotionally attached to the campus. Use that because that's not going to go away. And that's for everybody who might be listening to this. We'll be more than happy to be there if time permits, if everything else permits. Like I said, the emotional attachment doesn't go away, right? So always free and available to do whatever is needed. That's all I would say.
Thank you so much. I mean, we started with a thought of 30-45 minutes, but we ourselves never realized that it crossed an hour. So it was good interacting.
Just one last thing. I think I have a rapid fire, this or that.
Okay.
If you could just end it on a light-hearted note.
Okay.
So,
हमने बहुत spirituality
so your hostel department.
Mechanic. Kumau mechanical?
No, so if you have to choose either.
Oh, okay. I thought you were asking a question. Hostel, of course.
Hostel.
Always.
So, the prouder moment, getting into IIT or getting a job?
Getting into IIT.
Into IIT.
KRS or mess food?
How can I even select best food for anything in my life?
That coupon system in the mess food.
Yeah, I guess I would go for that.
First year or fourth year?
First year.
Fourth year.
Whoa. Nama Bengaluru or Sadi Delhi?
Sadi Delhi.
So, rendezvous or convocation?
Rendezvous. Do you have memories of your convocation?
Convocation. I actually got apart from my degree, I also got an award. so I have to select it.
And lastly, student life or this life?
Student life.
This life. It's one of those things. I just add to it. It's because I tend to avoid going too back into the past and saying it was great. I absolutely loved it. Yeah. So you asked a very hard question there. But it's because I generally believe that you have to look for positivity where you are right now. So I always select the present, right, or past. It's actually more of present and past sort of condition.
Thank you for that.